He's been very brave as he has fought to have his son returned to him, and he has gone not just the extra mile, but mile after mile.
On Thursday, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton took time to make a personal call to David in Rio de Janeiro, where he was dealing with court matters related to his case.
She said, as parent to parent, I want to do what I can to help you and Sean be back together, because this case is so egregious, and that the solution could be the beginning of better solutions and continuing resolutions of children that have been internationally abducted.
The State Department says David's case is just one of 50 involving American parents who are seeking the return of children wrongfully retained in Brazil. It has cited Brazil for 3 years in a row now for not meeting its obligations under a treaty called the Hague Convention on the Civil Aspects of International Child Abduction, which requires countries who sign it, Brazil is one, to promptly return abducted children to their home country.
Thank you all.
Secretary, will you raise the issue of the Goldman child?
When Clinton voiced her concern about David's case to Brazil's foreign minister, it quickly got the attention of people connected to João Paulo Lindsay Silva, the man who has temporary custody of Sean in Brazil.
This is not good for the relation of two countries. It has escalated, to a degree, absolutely insane. Insane. It's a family thing.
Sergio Tostes is part of a team of 10 high-powered Brazilian attorneys representing Lindsay Silva, who married Sean's mother Bruna in 2007. After months of silence, both Lindsay Silva and Bruna's family have decided to tell their side of the story. Turning to media outlets in Brazil. Many have not reported it until now. In a splash of TV, newspaper, and magazine reports, including one in which Sean beams from the cover, the family reveals details about his life in Brazil. He loves soccer and swimming, and is very close to his grandma Silvana, Bruna's mother. When he grows up, the family says Sean wants to be a cook, just like his grandma, or a lawyer, just like Lindsay Silva, who they say he calls Dad.
The two fathers, I don't deny that David loves his son. He loves his son, of course he does. Just João Paulo loves his son. But he has two fathers who love him.
Lindsay Silva argues that because he's been part of Sean's life for 4 years now, he has just as much right to raise Sean as his biological father does. He has been living with Sean since early 2005, which was just 6 months after Bruna left David and took Sean to Brazil. And Tostes says Lindsay Silva deserves credit for stepping up to the plate after Bruna's tragic death last August.
He was the one who gave Sean the comfort in that very difficult period. Can you imagine someone coming to a 8-year-old boy say, "Your mother passed away"? There's two ways to define who is the father, either by blood or by affection.
Tostes also maintains that neither Secretary of State Hillary Clinton or any other politician who is rallying on David's behalf should be involved, because in the family's opinion, Bruna never abducted Sean, and this isn't a Hague Convention case.
There are a lot of people unduly involving themselves in the case and making this a case between Brazil and the United States. That was not a case of abduction. There has been no abduction whatsoever. In this specific case, the Hague Convention does not apply.
David Goldman's case is the quintessential example of a violation of the Hague Treaty.
Congressman Chris Smith says not only is the case ironclad, but if the courts in Brazil don't uphold the country's obligation under the Hague Convention to return Sean, Brazil will be sending a dangerous message.
The government has the responsibility and the duty to see that the Hague Convention on Child Abduction is properly adhered to, or why sign it? Does Brazil want to become known as the place where child kidnappers have free reign and can exploit their own judicial system and the rule of law to retain false custody? I hope not.
But the Brazilian family believes that Sean's case should be settled in a family court in Brazil, where he now lives, and be treated like a normal custody dispute.
The issue is, Sean, what's best for the little boy? Let's have David and João Paulo discuss custody in the proper court. If the court decides that it's more appropriate, irrespective of this whole dramatic things that happen, that David is more fit to be father. He will have the son.
Why don't they just say, David, Sean needs to be with you. We understand that you're his father. It's simple. It's a parent's right to be with their child. Sean is my son. He's got my blood running through his veins. And if they really cared for Sean, they wouldn't be putting him through this at all.
David says the family tells two different stories. Just before he arrived in Brazil last Tuesday for a court-ordered psychological evaluation, he was hit with an avalanche of allegations from the family, as they claimed in news reports that, among other things, he doesn't really care about his son and only wants money. Bruna's mother even suggested her daughter had feared David because, quote, there are times when he's very violent and he punches and breaks the closet, a charge that incenses David's parents.
He's not the person that they're depicting.
When Bruna was alive, she never said any of those things. Making up all those outrageous stories about what was going on here, it's just absurd.
All the allegations are lies. They're throwing anything up in the air and hoping it sticks. It's very sad, but I'm not going to go down their mudslinging path. My focus is my son.
Former Assistant U.S. Secretary of State Bernard Aronson, who is now among the circle of Washington insiders advising David, sees the barrage of negative accusations as a desperate move.
I have not seen a single shred of evidence that David Goldman wasn't a loving, caring, responsible father. I think this is just a power play. They want to keep this child in Brazil, and they don't have a legal right to do so.
It was a tense week for David in Rio, with Brazilian media constantly camped outside his hotel. And early this morning, an anti-David rally organized by Bruna's brother. Still, despite the firestorm of international controversy that surrounds this 8-year-old boy, David and Sean were allowed a few short visits, reconnecting over the simplest of things.
He still loves Twizzlers. He was so happy when I brought the Twizzlers because we used to see movies a lot at home, and he loved popcorn and Twizzlers. For me, it's always just the best thing, be with my son.
Yet, just as it was when David saw Sean last month for the first time in 4.5 years, these visits were painfully bittersweet.
Well, the bitter part is always having to leave him there in a place that he shouldn't be. The way this environment is, so strict and stringent, and it's diminishing any real bonding of a parent and a child. And it is no way to be reuniting or creating a strong father and son bond. And they know that. This has got to stop. He's got to come home.